Good afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, well, generally, what I would like to know is in your budget, you outline a number of areas for the business development sector, especially the small businesses. Could you elaborate a little on what is your focus in the budget? What are your main focuses?
Yes, well, Budget 2015 is, as you know, our government's first budget. And basically what it is, it's an estimate of what we expect to spend in this year and what we expect to, our projected revenues. And while a lot of the focus is always on what is spent where, I think more importantly for the Ministry of Business is the aspect of the revenues and how we actually get the money to spend in all the other areas. And to that extent, our aim is to ensure that because we're obviously those revenues have to come from private sector investments, that's what has to generate the profits that are taxable and that create the jobs, that pay the taxes, and so it's important that we get that straight right from the inception. And that's the focus of our ministry, the Ministry of Business. And to do that, then we have a few agencies and departments which combined will achieve the improvements and the investments, the growth that we are targeting. The Small Business Bureau is one of the very important agencies, semi-autonomous agencies, that fall within the responsibility of the Ministry of Business. And that agency is tasked with the development of small businesses and also with the management of projects pertaining to the development of small businesses and also the financing of small businesses and also ensuring that the provisions of the Small Business Act are given effect, and in particular the provision that stipulates that 20% of public contracts should go to small businesses. The other agency that is within our ministry is Go Invest, which is the Guyana Office for Investment, and that is the state investment promotion agency, which is critical for the economic development of this country, because that is the number one agency of the state that deals with the promotion of Guyana as an investment venue, the promotion of Guyana's exports, and also the facilitation of the investors or investments that are being made in our economy. But you wanted to ask something else. I know I'm rambling on a bit.
No, that's okay. Actually, you touched some of the areas that I wanted to ask you about. With regards to the contracts, can you tell me a little about how your ministry plans to go about doing this, the 20% contracts to the small businesses?
Yes, well, it needs to be borne in mind that this is a provision in the Small Business Act of 2004. It has remained there very quietly and untouched for over a decade now. Our commitment in the Ministry of Business is to ensure that within our 5-year strategic plan that we are currently developing, we hope to achieve by the latest year 5 the full 20%, or that 20% of all public contracts do indeed go to small businesses, registered small businesses. How we do that, it's not going to be easy because there is a responsibility in government to ensure that we get value for every taxpayer dollar that we spend. And therefore, it's not simply a question of saying, well, you know, take 20% of all the contracts and give them to small businesses. We have to ensure that the small businesses do indeed have the capacity to bid competitively for those contracts. So we're looking at capacity building measures in the first instance. Also, what we need to do is do an analysis of public spending in the various budget agencies to see what are the contracts that are perhaps most suited to small businesses, and perhaps then focus some training and capacity building on those types of, on those sectors of procurement. So that's, in a general terms, how we would go about it. But strategically, one does have to plan this ahead. I mean, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but we are committed to making that a reality. And within 5 years, we are sure that we will achieve this.
Okay, Minister, with regards to Go Invest, I know that you have been emphasizing that the roles of Go Invest would change and you would make it a more independent body. So far, you have established a board of directors. Can you say what are the changes that you have seen and what is it that you foresee for the future for Go Invest?
Well, let's start with the future. By the year 2030, we would like to see Go Invest become the premier investment promotion agency in our region. And we would like also Guyana to be the #1 performing economy in our region and the most attractive investment, or the most attractive country to invest in this region. And so in terms of what Go Invest has to do, Go Invest has its plate full, because Go Invest has to make this happen. Currently, yes, we have established a board. Go Invest was operating without a board for some time now. And the last board, even when it was in existence, appeared not to have met regularly. And so there were some anomalies in how Go Invest has been run over the years. And we wanted a regular board with a regular CEO, and we wanted a proper supervision of that agency by the board. So that board has been established. The board has met already. The last CEO is no longer with Go Invest. The process of recruiting a new chief executive officer for Go Invest is currently being worked out.
Okay. The National Bureau of Standards. I understand that in the budget, you have said that $60 million was allocated for the purchase of some vehicles to expand the activities out of the city. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, the precise, I mean, I'm not sure what you want me to elaborate on, but I did say that money was spent on that particular capital investment, because that is something that the Bureau has said was hampering them in doing their work. So that has been funded in this year's budget. And of course, we look forward to a lot more funding in 2016 and 2017 and beyond, because the Bureau does have a very critical role to play in business development, especially in the manufacturing sector, as well as in consumer protection in terms of monitoring the quality of imports to ensure that they are compliant with all the standards and so. But very importantly, the Bureau does develop standards for products. And if we are looking to become a serious exporter, we need to ensure that what we are exporting meets the required standards to get into markets outside of Guyana. And the Bureau will be playing an important part, not only in developing standards, but also monitoring standards in the various sectors that we hope to expand over the next 5, 10, 15 years and beyond.
Well, I think you just answered my question there because I was asking about the expansion of activities. Moving on, with regards to Nestle, you said that you'll be relooking at the functions and the role of Nestle. Can you say how you plan to do this and what do you expect out of them?
Well, Nestle does not fall under the Ministry of Business. However, the Ministry of Business has a Department of Industry, and that department manages industrial estates, several industrial estates. And some of those industrial estates are owned by Nestle, and therefore Nestle is responsible for the lease agreements, and we are asking that Nestle starts to enforce the terms of some of those lease agreements, because generally, areas that are earmarked for industrial development, industrial sites, are developed for with the purpose of developing and promoting industrial activity, and not for real estate purposes or for landlording or anything like that. So we'd like Nestle to ensure that the terms of the leases which have been granted to the occupants of those industrial estates are met, and those terms will deal with what is supposed to be done and what the intended use of the plots that are being leased. And we just want to ensure that whatever the intended use is actually that those plots are being used for that. So we'd like some monitoring to be done by Nestle.
Okay, with regards to this regional expos that I understand your ministry is contemplating on having for the promotion of small businesses, can you just touch a little on what you expect out of these?
Yes. What we expect is that the various regions will host expos, business expos, preferably before the end of the year, basically to showcase what their local businesses have to offer in terms of products and services, not just to the region, because some of them may be exporting companies, but to showcase within their regions what they have to offer, and also to probably get some exposure or maybe even to prepare themselves for GaiExpo 2016, which we, as I mentioned in our last interview, is going to be a bigger GaiExpo to commemorate our 50th anniversary of independence. So I know Berbice and the West or Central Berbice Chambers of Commerce have already launched their expo, their business expo. I think it's Berbice Expo, and that's happening in September. And they've had it, I think, now for 10 or 11 years in a row. I know some of the other regions may not have that sort of track record, but everything starts with one step. And for many of them, you're asking them to take that first step. We'd like to support them in taking that first step so that they also can boast consecutive years of local expos.
A 5-year plan to govern the ministry's activities. Can you give us some highlights of that?
No, we're not actually launching it. We're doing a consultation tomorrow because, we believe that if we spend some time to develop our 5-year strategic plan rather than just rush into to work, we probably our job over the next 5 years would be a lot easier, you know. So, but we don't necessarily just want to sit down in our offices and come up with, you know, a plan for the future of business in Guyana. We are looking at doing some consulting with several state agencies and with private sector representative bodies. And in doing so, we hope to get from them perhaps some of the elements that we may not have included in our strategic plan. So what we are actually doing tomorrow, we have circulated a draft to several stakeholders, and we are going to have a discussion tomorrow, and then we will go back to the drawing board and we will complete our strategic plan for the next 5 years. And that will be completed hopefully by the end of this month.
Okay, Minister, before we close, I would like to give you the opportunity to touch on any other area that you would like to, if there's any.
There's nothing that I think I didn't mention. No.
Okay, well, in that case, thank you very much.
Thank you.